Okay, now it's recording. Mom, it's fine. I'm doing the cards. I'm doing the cards with my very up close iPad.
You need me to time them?
No, I got it. It's okay. He can talk right now. I'm just showing the cards. Let's take. Okay. I hate my phone. Hold on. Okay. So, there's a great expanse of art in the world that has been able to thrive because of one art movement. And what I mean by that is that there's a lot of different types of art. There's not just artwork, it's not just paintings. There's a bunch of things like music, for example, that has been able to thrive because of one art movement. And that would be the Impressionist movement, which was a painting art movement. Now, I'm an art major. I go to school, I have to take art classes, and I take history classes, and I really enjoy history. So I've done a lot of research pertaining to this. And I know everyone in here enjoys art in some facet, and it doesn't just have to be studio arts. It can be more distant related things like music. So, the Impressionist art movement, we're going to go through a few points, really what it is, why it's unique, and why I still care about, why we still care about it today. So first thing, what is Impressionism? Justin Wolfe from the artstory.org describes Impressionism as the most important movement in the whole of modern painting. And I mentioned this earlier, but painting is connected to all other types of art. So if you have painting, you also have music. That's just part of it. So Impressionism was the beginning of art being personable. It's the beginning of it being accessible to everybody. You have the Industrial Revolution. This is all happening in the late 1800s. So now everyone can get paint. Everyone can make something. And it doesn't have to be up to the Academy standards. And I'll get to that in a minute. So the Impressionist era really had a lack of traditional art rules. Lack of what was set up by the Renaissance. There has not been a change in art since the Renaissance at this point. And it really depicted everyday life, and it depicted genre paintings, which is everyday life, and more realism. So you have a lot more paintings of people playing chess and herrings over John the Baptist getting beheaded. And now there's a focus on science and emotions connected to the art. So you have less, again, you have less religion and more, I wanted to paint this herring, and I made sure the light looked realistic with that. So there are physical attributes noted in DK's Art, the Definitive Visual Guide, such as distinct brushwork. You can see the bristle marks in the brushwork. Vibrant colors that were a part of the Industrial Revolution manufacturing. Color theory, which is, again, new at the time. This is when color theory was developed. Common subjects, everyday things, and a more focus on light. So, what made it unique? A lot of what I just said really made it unique, but the previous art movements were really gripped hard by the French Academy of Arts. And they decided, well, this is what we want to show in the salon, and the salon is where you got your artwork. So, the main depictions were of history, myth, and religion, which disallowed a lot of personal thought, but that was okay for a long time, because you didn't have a camera yet, until right now. Until right now is when you have a camera. So, a lot of morals, historical, symbolic things can't really be too personal to the artist, but now you don't need that anymore. So now there's going to be more personable art pieces. And there's also a new thing, noted by Sarah Ernst Green, an art educator and curator, in the case for Impressionism, notes that there's a new group of people actually making art and actually being able to sign it, and that would be women. For a very long time, from Renaissance to now, women did not sign their paintings. They couldn't. If they did have any signed paintings, it was signed in their husband's name, or it was anonymous or unknown. In Gardner's Art Through the Ages by Fred Kleiner, the new study of light in classical art theory was being developed. So now, shadow doesn't have to be black or brown. You look outside, and you look at the forest from a distance, it's actually green. It's actually blue. That's what the shadows actually are. They're not black. And that's being implemented for the first time now. So why does that matter now? Why does that matter to us now? Impressionism was the very first successful diversification of Western art. It was the first time people who weren't in charge made a decision concerning what art was. First change since the Renaissance. Renaissance set up, we're going to paint aristocrats, we're going to paint royalty, we're going to paint biblical things, historical things. But now, you can paint whatever you want, because anyone can get their hands on anything. And our historian Kelly Richmond Adu says this approach to painting changed the course of art history. Now, art history isn't just painting, it isn't just sculpture. It's history pertaining to art. So that includes the beginnings of diversification of classical music. Now you have artists who are conductors, and they're saying, well, I want to really say, like, this is how I feel when I look at the ocean. And that's what they're starting to do. They're putting Impressionist ideals into their conducting work. And Impressionism created a bunch of other art movements. Impressionism was kind of like the buckshot. It hit and everything else just exploded. So you had post-impressionists, you had Dada, you had Cubism, you had abstraction, and you have the entirety of contemporary art because of this one moment. So a lot of subjective ideas were also coinciding with objective definitions. What I mean by that is you look at something, you say, okay, this is art, not because I enjoy it, but because someone created it. But what's my opinion on it? Now you've had your opinion on it. Because for a long time, again, historical. This is just a painting of maybe a biblical story. That was the entire thought process. But if you look at a Monet, you can read into it more. You can think about it a lot more. And so now, to bring things to a little bit of a close, we've reviewed over the Impressionist art movement, what it was, why it was unique, and how it affects us now. So hopefully you can leave here tonight with a little bit more knowledge concerning it. Maybe you care a little bit more about it. And that is all.
Ruth?
That was very good.